Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Hopefully this week will be a little bit more of a showering of videos. I have a few videos that I'll be putting out, one of which will be released right after this video is put out the next day. And then of course we'll have some other videos floating around also. So hopefully you guys will be... Hopefully you guys will enjoy some of the new content that's coming down the pipe. But we're back for another news roundup, and we got a few topics for today. So I'm just going to cut this short, and we're just going to dive right on in. So of course, coming off the weekend, we have the latest in the ongoing series of the Jurassic Park series, Jurassic World Rebirth, made its debut. And me and my brother will be seeing the film Tuesday. Today is Monday, so we will be checking it out. But until then, let's talk about the finances, how the film performed this weekend. And it actually performed expectingly well, at least in a debut. Collected a substantial global debut of $318 million. And according to various sources, when you actually look up some of the articles from Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline, production costs have got as high as $250 million. Now, the reason why I say this is because Variety initially claims that the production was $180 million, then they say it was $250 million, and then they retract their statement, and now they're saying it's $180 million. So... And I have stuff right here that I'll show you, just to, prove my, I'm not just saying whatever. And to validate that feeling that production costs are as high as $250, the Hollywood Reporter initially claimed that the production cost stood at least $225 million. And now they too are also saying that the production cost is $180 million. Deadline had always claimed that it was indeed $180 million. So there's a lot of numbers being thrown around, and it seems like the studio is wanting the 180 to be the thing that's being discussed, not necessarily other numbers that these outlets had, found, from reports or from people potentially close to the production. So we don't know what the exact costs are, but it sounds like they're trying to downplay the overall cost, but. We'll say that it's as high as $250. So according to Variety, the marketing expenses amount to, quote, tens of millions. So I think we can assume based on that the marketing expenses are probably about $100 million. So when you take into consideration all the numbers that I had just listed, bringing in the lowest production of 180 to the highest of 250, your general investment with the marketing expenses, which likely amount to $100 million, you're likely looking at a general investment that is as low as $280 and as high as $350 million. So when you take all these numbers into consideration, the film will need to generate as low as $840 million and as high as $1.05 billion in order to break even. So regardless on the validity of the information, regarding the production, I mean, these are strong numbers. I mean, they're expecting numbers because, the series has always been at least beloved by audience members. And, these movies make dirty money. So I would not be worried, by the prospects going into next week. I mean, we have Superman, of course, so we'll see how that stacks up against Superman. But I think that this is going to... I think it's going to get do just fine. I think that we'll get to potentially that 840 mark. Maybe the studio will be happy by that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up ruling the whole month, to be honest with you, like outpacing both Superman and Fantastic Four. So we'll see. I just think that it's just weird how we're not getting any confirmation on costs. Like, we got numbers that were reported previously, and outlets were talking about it, like, I think about a week or so, even before the film came out. And now they have, like, these other numbers being thrown out. So it just adds a lot of discrepancy to your to those claims. So, or to any new claims being brought up. So, yeah, don't try to hide information. Like it just makes you look suspicious. So, but regardless, though, it looks like it's going to be a potential win for the studio, depending on what we should believe in terms of cost. But I think it'll do just fine because these movies make dirty money, and I don't think that there's going to be too much of a worry. Because I just don't think that Superman or Fantastic Four is going to pose a large threat. Superman might, but I don't really see it. But we'll see next week. We'll see how Superman comes out in competition with this, but I think that this is going to be the larger, the film that people go see more than the others, in my opinion. But we'll see. Alrighty, we got a couple of trailers to discuss for today, and then we're going to call it a day. So let's get into it. So the first trailer we're going to discuss is the official trailer for The Cat in the Hat. This is a animated adaptation of the of that original book, as well as some of the there was animation back in the day. So just another adaptation of itself from that animation and the book itself. The stars Bill Hader as the Cat in the Hat, Axel Gomez, I butchered the hell out of the name, sorry, Matt Berry, Bowen Yang, and Giancarlo Esposito. It was being written and directed by Alessandro Carloni and Erica Rivanoja, who have worked on films such as Kung Fu Panda 3, and individually they did things here and there, but together they worked on Kung Fu Panda 3. This has a release date of February 27th, 2026, and I really cannot understand the rationale behind representing two different environments within the same visual format, because when you watch the trailer, it's apparent that all they've done is just change the shell shading of like one environment from the other. And I don't think that automatically creates a stark contrast, especially when both worlds are being inhabited by 3D aesthetics, Like if you're trying to make one more 2D in its format, why not just commit to 2D, since that's what you're trying to replicate anyway, and then maintain the 3D format within a 3D format, since that world is trying to replicate that also. Like to me, it just translates more as cheap, Like it just makes one of these environments more cheaper than the other, which to me isn't saying much given just the general animation that's there, which really isn't speaking all that much to me. And that's the sense of like cheaper returns on investment. It kind of seems like it's extending the story itself, like just another entering the real world narrative like that Smurfs did and other movies have done in the past. I don't know. I don't personally really care all that much. It doesn't look terrible to me, but it just doesn't really do anything special. If anything, it's just doing weird things within weird rationales. Just do 2D and 3D. It just feels odd when you're having to represent these two things within the exact same visual format. It just seems weird to me. But yeah, it really, just by animation alone, like if I were to look at it, like it just seems like a cheaper imitation of like Illumination, of what they do. And it's funny given the origins of this project, which since it stemmed from Illumination was going to work on this film, and then I think I don't know what happened. I guess it fell through in development. Warner Brothers took the reins on it, but yeah, it doesn't really do much for me. I just think that it looks kind of just basic, and I don't really care for basic too much. So, all right. The other trailer we're going to discuss is for a movie called Project Hail Mary. This is starring Ryan Gosling and Sandra Huller, and being written and directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. who you guys may be familiar with films such as 21 and 22 Jump Street. They also directed the Lego Movie, and for a hot minute, they were the directors of Solo, a Star Wars story. But then, if you know your history, they were fired, and they were did not finish their version of that movie. This is being released on March 20th, 2026, backed by Amazon Studios, financed by 3 Amazon Studios, and being distributed by them. I'm typically a sucker for the one man in space type stories. I think aesthetically, like, there's always something interesting there, and with this, there's an interest there as well, kind of echoing that of Interstellar at some points. I have hesitations within the overall narrative, though, because it seems to me that there is. I'm questioning its cohesion and its logic, because the trailer never answers the simple question of why would a guy with no certifications be the only guy capable of pulling off this mission? Like, they never say that exactly, but I'm guessing that it's, or at least I'm hoping that it's not some cop-out or, this like chosen one type narrative. Like, I really hope that's not what they're doing with this. But I'm curious. I mean, like I said, I like these kind of stories. Like, I liked Spaceman last year. I also like, films like Interstellar and stuff like that. Solaris, I really, really enjoy. I like these types of isolated pieces. Interstellar's not really isolated, but you know what I mean? It's like, I like the overall aesthetic within space environments like that. And again, centralizing it, like films like Spaceman and Solaris, specifically to one person, it looks kind of neat. I have my trepidations, but, we'll see. I'll be on the lookout for it. And given that Amazon is behind this, I'll only assume that this film will probably flop, and that Amazon will just say they don't care about theatrical numbers as much as they do about streaming, as much as how they, favor the numbers that come out on their service, Amazon Prime, which makes you wonder why don't they just put it on there in the first place. I really love their rationale. It's just hilarious hearing them trying to explain that. But yeah, this looks promising. I'll say that. But I have my doubts, my hesitations, but we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. So. And finally, we have the official trailer for The Running Man. This is a remake to the Arnold film that came out in the 80s, I think. 80s, right? I believe it was the 80s. This stars Glenn Powell, Michael Cera, William H. Macy, Amelia Jones, sorry, I hit the mic, Coleman Domingo, and Josh Brolin. It is being co-written and directed by Edgar Wright, who you guys may be familiar with movies such as Shaun of the Dead, The World's End, Baby Driver, which I've seen and enjoyed, and most recently, Last Night in Soho, which came out, I think, like a couple of years ago. This has a release date for November 7th, 2025, and it looks fairly disposable to me, but potentially fun in a mindless manner. Like, it doesn't really display a lot of distinct characteristics as much as it just feels like any other generic action flick. Kind of like reminds me of movies like The Purge or The Hunt, which, have like these narratives driven by, an underbelly of political commentary. And, it's basically a manhunt type of narrative, like it just seems rather shallow and hollow in like many areas. So yeah, it's not really for me. I can't say it looks completely lifeless. I think that there's potentially some fun. Glenn Powell seems to be having fun with it. But yeah, not really much for me. I'm not familiar with the original, so it really doesn't do much for me. It just seems like any other generic action flick as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Little bite-sized thoughts this week. Of course, next week we will be talking about Superman, and when I do get around to watching Jurassic World, I will be seeing, obviously, the Odyssey trailer that's being played, so we'll talk about the trailer then. So we'll save that for next week, probably when it also becomes available online. So, but let me know all your thoughts on all these topics regarding Jurassic World's box office, Cat in the Hat trailer, Project Hail Mary, and the Running Man trailer. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.